Hi guys, this is day 7 of throwing left-handed as a beginner. So 7 days have passed. It's not been 7 days full of play because again, I kind of forgot this, but it all come back to me as soon as I throw my left hand again. One, how atrocious it is when you first start playing and how difficult it is to hit a double, which is extremely difficult. If you haven't seen my first video, go back and watch that. It was pretty terrible play. So this one I thought I'd do 7 days in after a few hours. Just go through the key points of what it feels like when you first start playing, or if you ever have to swap a hands, whatever, you know, with your darts, or you just need to change. I wouldn't recommend it if you're at a decent level. Again, I've only done it because I've got a broken wrist. Yeah, I also wanted it to relate to people who've just started playing again. So for me, it's an important thing that you can literally, you know, start from any point. One arm is not the same as the other, so it's like starting brand new as soon as you go with a new arm. So yeah, that's that. And this video is going to be a little bit about the throw, how it's changed, how you can see the subtle differences of me throwing, yeah, and what sort of things I've tried to focus and work on during that time. So if you are a beginner, it's something that might be important to you to understand the normal process that your arms go through. I've done it twice, so for me it's the normal process which your arm and body goes through during that sort of startup period. So yeah, let's dive straight into it really. So just to get a bit of background on my throw and where it's at now. Throwing left-handed for me is a hard one, but at the same time, it's a case of I've tried to make sure I stack with this. I'm usually not a stacker, so I usually would generally throw on top so the darts sit up in the air like this. But with me, I wanted another throw where I could stack the darts just to give myself a comparison so I can relate to people who do stack more and things that they come up quite often. So for me, to give you a bit of an idea on the throw, so it's a bit clearer, I've tried to go with a slow start, and then as I'm coming back, just a nice follow through release. I haven't really got a good one yet, so it's got to have a bit of work to it. But for me, it's about getting that midpoint nice and back, and then a nice solid release. You know, the hardest thing for me is getting a key stable straight point really. So for me, getting that straight point and getting in the you know the 20 segment and getting 3 in a row is difficult. I'm 6 hours in now, so for me, of the practice I've been doing, I'm 6 hours into this arm, and that doesn't sound a lot in the practice of a week, but the thing is, what you got to remember, the first 2 hours I did sort of following that video, that ripped my arm quite a lot. So after the first couple of hours, you've never playing before, you know, you got a muscle in here. I think it's called the pronator teres, and that's quite an important muscle that tears during darts playing, basically. So if you're not used to using that muscle, and the amount you use it when you're throwing and doing that extension, it really does ache for a couple of days if you do it. Most people don't practice for that long, but if you do and really want to get good at darts, you almost have to aim for that in the early days until it kind of goes past the point where you don't notice that. So like I'm now at the point where it's not aching badly, but I've gone for practice sessions that will give me that ache the next day, because then I know it's tearing. And what's really interesting is after each day that you do tear that muscle and it really grows obviously stronger, what you find is you have a little, just slightly better point really. So hopefully in this video, just after this video, I'll put a stat up of exactly what match I've done today. Same format, basically five legs against the computer on a low level, and you'll see the differences, what's climbed up. I still don't know whether I'll get to you know, like a 40 average or something in a couple of weeks, which I'm going to do. But I think for me, it's good to try and see where we can get to with it, really. So yeah, I'm going to do a few more throws so you can see a little bit more of the mechanics and how we're working on that, really. So yeah, so for me, it's just trying to get straight. So as much as it's still not great, there's periods where you're really warmed up, where you're getting, you know, like you're getting 45, or you're getting, you know, instead of being all around the board here, I feel confident now I could probably hit in that ring probably 9 out of 10 times, which is better than what it was. When I first started, I was nowhere near. I was dropping out the board all over the place, really. So for me, it's just trying to get that little bit of, you know, consistent stuff, so you're, you know, able to follow through at a straight level. There's still, where I'm stacking, there's still a weird release happening that I'm releasing almost a little bit late, so I'm not quite following through my arm, and I'm coming outside of the whole board, which is still happening, but that's where I'm just trying to get that release coming through nicely, to be honest. But I can feel when I get it nice, I'm just doing bit of doubles practice at the moment, just to see if I can get anywhere near where I want to get to on the edge, because that was probably the worst point of that last practice match I did. Was doubles was so bad. I wasn't even close, in all honesty. So for me, it was a problem. So there's still quite a bit of work to do there. So I'm just gonna. I mean, I would say for the first 2 weeks, to be honest, at least the first week anyway, you basically just want to tear the arm and throw as much as you possibly can with a bit of straightness involved. You can practice some doubles and stuff like that, but for the first week, I'd say, until you get even any stability in this muscle here, you're not really going to be able to be anywhere near decent because your muscles can't deal with that level of strain on them. So you've almost got to push through that first bit, get the initial test, just like going to the gym. If you ever lifted weights at the gym and you've got that initial tear, then you know how it feels. It's like beginner's gains, as it were. So it's the same as that. You've just got to get there and put a bit of time in the first week or 2 weeks, and then go from there, really. So yeah, let's do a few more just so you can see the difference. And anyone who knows my normal throw, it's from a left arm, it's very different to this. I don't fully cock my wrist. I almost start front with it relaxed. So it is very different. It's interesting to have a different throw. I wanted to also talk about dominance of eyes. I'm cross-eyed dominant, which means I'm left-eyed dominant. So when I usually would throw with my right like this, I would be almost lining up from a side point. And if anyone doesn't know what that means, what I mean is, if you basically look down the camera, or if you look at a point on the wall, you'll generally have one eye that's more dominant than the other. So if you put your finger over it, looking at both eyes straight, basically shut one eye, and whatever one lines up with where your spot is, that's what dominant is. So for me, when I line up with that target, I'm left eye dominant. So if you was the other way, when you do that, you would be bang on the circuit, you'd be bang on it in line. If, like for me, the target that I've lined up more moves over to the left, like about 2 inches in my eye line. That's how you know. So what that would do is, in an ideal world, when you first start playing, you'd be better off finding out which eye you are dominant with, and having, so if you're left eye dominant, you basically want to be left-handed. If you're right eye dominant, it's probably better for you to be right-handed. So that's just saying, I would say most people don't do that. Hardly anyone does that. But for an ideal point of view, because when you come back with a dart, like if you're left eye dominant than me, you're coming closer in line. You've got to go further away if you're going to be offline. So like when I switch to my right, for example, as I come back here, in order for me to be in line with where my eye thinks it is with the treble 20, for example, if I had to do and create a straight line like a gunshot, I'd have to go down the sight this way, which isn't great because your body doesn't really want to do that. It's harder to keep straight. So what you end up doing is going here, and then you're almost not seeing it. So it does make a difference, but for most people, they're not going to do that. But if I had an ideal world like I am now, doing left-handed, left eye dominant works better. So technically, if I did 2,000 hours or so with the left hand, probably technically I should be better, but I don't think that takes into account how much, like, because I'm normally right-handed, how much I do dominant with my right hand, like whether it's brushing your teeth or it's doing anything. So I don't know about that part of it, but for sight in the dart, some people will go off a feel. They won't necessarily sight the dart. I like to sight it before I throw, and have it at a point where the sort of flight sits, and then sort of follow through, just so it's straight. But a lot of people, they throw on feel, so then obviously you won't be doing that. But definitely, it's a very different throw for me. So I'm just gonna see if you guys can see now. I'm gonna try and put you on the board, and so you can see, over this angle basically, so you can see. So I'm just going to make sure that lines up with the board basically, so you can see. And I'm going to zoom in. So just so you can see, I probably should have done this in the beginning, but for me, just so you can see. I'm going to throw some darts here now, and just so you're seeing where it is, and then in a couple of weeks where it is. So I'm just going to try and throw a bit more straight. So I'm gonna throw a few here just so give you a bit of an idea where it started off. So this is a 6 hour throw we're in now. So this throw is only 6 hours old. Never thrown ever before. So and the reason why I talk about in hours is because, just for reference point, I'm aiming in this element here. Yeah, so I'm just aiming to be in that realm. So to be honest, I'd take a 26 right now. I know I'll be around or thereabouts if I am. Yeah, so the last one was okay, but they're okay. All the time they're in that board, for me, they'll get better. But if you saw where it was in the beginning, oh my God, there was nowhere near that. So that's a wayward one. It's actually harder as well if you start to stack. If you stack from day one, it's a little bit more difficult than throwing generally, like throwing sort of like standard as the points come down, the darts sort of sit up a little bit. The reason why is because you've got a little bit more grip and the dart's a little bit more stable. So like if I throw from the back of the dart, for example, it's almost easier, and for me it's straighter because there's less to go wrong. So I would probably be better if I did that. It'd be easy to get gains quicker, but for me I want to stack the dart. So for me I want to try and go with that at least. But yes, it is easier probably gripping slightly at the rear than gripping at the front. Unfortunately, that's just my own preference. That was actually aimed at the treble 20, believe it or not. So did that. So yeah, so there's a problem there mechanically. As I'm coming through, I'm not straight, so I've not got my arm in the right place. But I'm gonna just try and. There you go. That's a bit better. That was awful. So one treble 20. Yeah, great. For those of reference, I think it took me 9 minutes to get a treble 20 when I was first throwing this throw. It took me about, I'd say, an hour. I think it was about an hour and a half to get 100 that I was actually aiming for. Yeah, I've not got a 140 yet, so I'm still working on that. Which seems like a long time to not to get a 140. It took me a good amount of time to get a 60. In all honesty, I think it took me about an hour and 45 to get like a 60 that I really aimed for, and I mean just 3 single 20s. Like that was probably the most frustrating bit because I kept missing the last one, for example. But then it sounds stupid, but getting addicted to trying to get in a 60. It's stupid, but I'm just going to do a few more here just so I can try and show you a bit of straightness. Really. Expecting the match I do in a second to be atrocious, but it's just it's all relative, you know. And I'm not quite following through well here. And if anything, this video just demonstrates how bad you can be. So hopefully it gives you guys a bit of confidence that someone 6 hours in is doing worse than you are. So if you are 6 hours in, just keep on. Yeah. So it's a constant battle at the moment to try and get between straight and you know and sort of in line with the treble. The only thing with stacking is when they're sitting like that and you've got loads of grip on them, they do drop out straight away. But I'm going to stick with it. I think it will get better. That's probably one of the most accurate throws I've done. And I know it's not great. It's only at 85, but for me, that one going exactly how I released it is great. You know, but it's just it's a difficult thing, you know. It's not easy to just start and throw straight, and also your muscles get so much tired quicker when they're not developed in that way, you know. So it can be frustrating, but you just got to stick at it, you know. Like they are in there somewhere. Like that's a nice straight dart, but then oh look, 2, unbelievable. Oh, free. That's a 60, believe it or not. So yeah, they are in there, but it's just difficult, you know. And 60 just seems like hard to do. But as that muscle gets stronger, it will develop, you know, and then it will become easier. Look, I mean, obviously in a little warm patch there, treble 20, you know. So yeah, you just got to stick at it, you know. For anyone who's struggling or or thinking of changing arms, like it's going to be difficult, but you just got to dig in, take the time, which you know it's going to take. You know, for me to get to even a decent standard, I'd expect it to take 50 to 100 hours. You know, to get to even like a normal sort of pub standard, in my opinion. You know, but that's just a guesstimation. I'll know by the end of this, but you know, for me, even going for doubles and stuff like that, there's a random 18 thrown in there, but there's two good straight ones. So what often happens as well, you start to when your arm's not really tired and you start doing this. What I realised over the first sort of week or so, you get a pattern what starts to emerge that two darts, when you're in a good flow, two darts sort of follow each other. So like one will go a bit wayward, and then like two will go similar, like that, for example. So one's really wayward, but two's similar. But that because that's so far, it shows that I'm tired, you know. But yeah, two will group around, and that's where you just keep going, and then the third one starts to group around. Yeah, it's interesting to see, but it's normal. It's normal to be terrible at this stage, you know, after 6 hours or so. But I can see my arms tired now, you know, because I've been throwing, warming up and messing around, and I threw a little bit earlier as well, you know. So then it becomes a little bit harder to maintain the muscles. So, but that's normal. But you've got to recognise that. You've got to know that actually, when you first start playing, your arms are going to get tired. You're going to throw bad matches. But that also happens to people that have been playing a long time but don't play regularly, because they think it's going to be okay, but then by their second or third match, their arms are tired. But they don't realise, because it's not like a massive ache, they don't realise fatigue's affected them. Same as like challenge tour weekends, development tour weekends, long weekends with multiple matches. You don't realise, unless you're practicing throwing all the time under that adrenaline, your muscles are going to get tired. So it does happen. It's just less noticeable when you first started. So you just got to watch out for it. But I'm going to post the pictures up of the match I'm going to do at the end of this video, and I'll just voice over what my thoughts are with it, really. So, but it's yeah. Hope you enjoy the video, and stay tuned for the next one. So for me, this actually felt good, believe it or not. Although I know I've played at a lot higher level than this. For me, it actually felt like some progress was made, especially with a couple of them. The doubles I took out fairly soon. Still not great scoring, but I took out quite quickly, like within a sort of maybe, I think 6 to 10 darts on a few of them. So for me, it was actually a really a big step, I suppose. I know it's only a 7 hour throw following this, because it still took a while, but for me it was just big progress. Percentage increase, I think 216% increase on the average after 6 hours, and about 600% of the doubles, because it went from 1 to 6%. So it's a starting point, and if you want to look at what I've done on that throw, really what I've done is played till my arm gets really tired and then stopped. I've done nothing technical whatsoever really at this point, other than trying to build a good throw.
but no real major practice drills. I don't think they're really as beneficial at this point in time until just literally ripping your arm, trying to keep it straight, and just doing what you're doing. So it'd be interesting to see what I can come up with after more hours. But yeah, 7 hour update is, it's a 27 average. So onwards and upwards from here.